Kyle was standing in line at the Apple Store on a Friday morning in September, waiting to spend $1,199 on a phone that was 3% faster than the phone already in his pocket. He knew the specs, he had watched every review, and he had read every single leak available. For months, he had refreshed every rumor site, looking for even the smallest update. The new camera had exactly one more lens. The processor was marginally quicker, and the screen was just slightly brighter. He could not articulate exactly what his current phone could not do. It made calls, sent texts, took photos good enough for Instagram, and ran every app he needed. It was 18 months old and worked perfectly. But somehow, standing in that line, he felt like he was falling behind. He felt like his current phone was suddenly inadequate, even though nothing about it had changed since the night before, when he had used it to watch the keynote announcing its replacement. That was the moment the magic happened. It was not in the phone itself, but in Kyle's perception of the phone he already owned. 24 hours earlier, he was satisfied. Now, watching a keynote unveil features he would never use, Kyle felt a strange dissatisfaction creep in. His perfectly functional device had been psychologically downgraded by the mere existence of something newer. He did not need a new phone. He needed to believe his current phone was no longer enough, and the industry has spent billions of dollars making sure he would believe exactly that. Kyle bought the new phone. He spent the entire weekend transferring his data and setting up his apps. He spent hours admiring how remarkably similar everything looked to exactly what he had before. By Monday, the new phone felt normal. It was indistinguishable from the experience he had left behind just days ago. The excitement lasted only 72 hours. The payment plan lasted 24 months. And in 18 months, he would be back in another line, convinced once again that what he had was suddenly not enough. My name is Kyle, and I spend way too much time thinking about why perfectly good technology starts feeling broken the moment something newer exists. If you have ever upgraded a phone, laptop, or tablet, and realized weeks later that you paid $1,000 for an experience almost identical to what you had. If you have ever felt your device slow down suspiciously close to a new model release, make sure to hit that subscribe button. What I am about to show you is how the tech industry has engineered a psychological and financial extraction machine that costs the average American household tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Not for innovation, but for the illusion of innovation. I call it the upgrade illusion. And once you see how it works, you will never look at a product announcement the same way again. Here is the fundamental thing you need to understand about the modern tech industry. The business model is not built on selling you a great device once. It is built on selling you the same device over and over again, with incremental changes packaged as revolutionary leaps. Apple, Samsung, Google, and every other major tech company have mastered a psychological manipulation that turns satisfaction into dissatisfaction on command. They do not need to make your old device worse, they need to make you feel like it is worse, which is a much easier problem to solve, and they solve it every single September with a keynote presentation, a barrage of advertising, and a carefully orchestrated cultural moment that makes everyone simultaneously look at their current phone and think that maybe it is time. The numbers behind this illusion are staggering. According to data from Counterpoint Research, the average smartphone replacement cycle in the United States is approximately 2.88 years. Americans upgrade their phones every 33 months on average, even though modern smartphones are built to last 5 to 7 years with proper care. The average selling price of a smartphone in America is now over $850, according to consumer intelligence research partners, and flagship devices routinely cross the $1,000 threshold. If you upgrade every 2.88 years at $850 per phone over a 40-year adult life, you will spend approximately $12,143 on smartphones alone. And that is before you add cases, chargers, accessories, AppleCare, and the monthly financing charges that most people now use to avoid feeling the full pain of payment. But smartphones are just the beginning. Add laptops replaced every 3 to 4 years at an average of $1,200 each. Add tablets at $600 every 4 years, and add smartwatches at $400 every 3 years. Add wireless earbuds at $200 every 2 years, along with smart home devices, streaming dongles, and the endless parade of gadgets that marketers convince you are essential until the next version makes them feel obsolete. A 2023 report from the Consumer Technology Association found that the average American household spends approximately $1,700 per year on consumer electronics over a 40-year adult life. That is $68,000, which is the price of a luxury car, a down payment on a house in most markets, or approximately $340,000 if invested in an index fund at 8% returns over the same period. You are not buying technology, you are buying scheduled dissatisfaction manufactured by companies who profit from making you feel perpetually behind. Let me show you exactly how the upgrade illusion works, because the machinery behind it is both elegant and ruthless. The first mechanism is planned obsolescence through software, the deliberate slowing of older devices through operating system updates designed for newer hardware. In 2017, Apple admitted to throttling the performance of older iPhones to compensate for aging batteries. This practice resulted in a $500 million settlement and confirmed what users had suspected for years: their phones were not imagining the slowdown that seemed to coincide with new model releases. But software obsolescence goes beyond throttling. Each new operating system version requires more processing power, more RAM, and more storage, resources that older devices have in fixed quantities. Your 3-year-old phone can still run the latest iOS or Android update technically, but it runs it slower with more lag and with apps that crash more frequently. The battery drains faster because the software demands exceed what the hardware can comfortably provide. You did not break your phone. The manufacturer updated it into degradation. And the only solution they offer is purchasing the new hardware designed for the new software. The second mechanism is planned obsolescence through hardware, which involves deliberate design choices that make devices difficult or nearly impossible to repair. According to the United States Public Interest Research Group, the right to repair movement exists specifically because manufacturers have made batteries non-replaceable, screens proprietarily fused, and parts unavailable to independent repair shops. An iPhone battery replacement through Apple costs $89 to $119 and requires an appointment at a certified location. The battery itself costs approximately $15, while the rest is labor and artificially restricted access. Many consumers facing an $89 repair bill on a 3-year-old phone conclude that they might as well put that money toward a new device. This is exactly the calculation the manufacturer intended. The third mechanism is the most insidious, which is the annual release cycle itself. By launching new devices on a predictable schedule, tech companies have trained consumers to experience their current device as increasingly obsolete with each passing month. The phone you bought in January feels cutting edge and exciting, but by September, when the new model is announced, the same phone, which is unchanged and still perfectly functional, suddenly feels like last year's technology. The keynote presentation does not just market the new device, it systematically markets dissatisfaction with the old one. Every feature highlighted implicitly suggests your current device lacks something important. Every camera comparison shows your photos as slightly inferior, and every performance benchmark implies your device is falling behind. You are not watching a product announcement. You are watching a carefully scripted psychological operation designed to manufacture desire for something you do not need by manufacturing discontent with something that still works. Now, you might be thinking that technology does actually improve, that new phones are genuinely better, and that upgrading is rational because you are getting real value. And here is where I need to challenge what better actually means in practice. A flagship phone from 2022 and a flagship phone from 2025 are both capable of doing everything 95% of users actually do with their phones. Texting, calling, social media, photography good enough for Instagram, email, navigation, streaming video, and basic productivity tasks. The 2025 phone does these things approximately 3 to 5% faster, with photos that are marginally better in low light conditions that most users rarely encounter, with a screen that is slightly brighter in direct sunlight that makes no difference indoors, and with a battery that lasts about the same amount of time, because efficiency gains are offset by larger screens and more power-hungry features. The improvements are real, but imperceptible in daily use. You cannot feel a 5% speed improvement. You cannot see the difference between a 20-megapixel photo and a 24-megapixel photo on a phone screen. You cannot meaningfully experience the incremental upgrades that marketing departments present as transformational leaps. A study from Wayne State University found that users could not reliably distinguish between flagship phones across generations in blind tests when performing everyday tasks. They could tell the difference in synthetic benchmarks, which are tests designed specifically to highlight performance gaps. But in actual usage scenarios, the phones felt functionally identical. This means you are not paying $1,000 for a better experience. You are paying $1,000 for the knowledge that you have the newest version, which is a psychological satisfaction unrelated to practical utility. And here is what most people do not realize about the comparison between old and new devices. The alternative to buying a new flagship is not suffering with obsolete technology. It is buying nothing because your current device still works, or buying a refurbished flagship from 2 generations prior at half the price with 95% of the performance. A refurbished iPhone 13 Pro in 2025 costs approximately $450 and does virtually everything an iPhone 16 Pro does for daily tasks. The 2-year-old flagship is not obsolete, it is arbitraged, and it performs at a flagship level at a mid-range price because the upgrade illusion convinced its original owner to trade it in for something marginally better, flooding the refurbished market with excellent devices that the marketing machine tells you to ignore. Let me show you the lifetime math of escaping the upgrade illusion, because this is where the financial impact becomes genuinely life-changing. Take 2 people with identical tech needs. Person A upgrades their smartphone every 2 years at $1,000 each. Person A also buys a new laptop every 3 years at $1,400, replaces their tablet every 4 years at $700, and updates accessories like earbuds and watches at the pace manufacturers suggest. Person B keeps their smartphone for 4 years and buys refurbished flagships from 2 generations prior. Person B keeps laptops for 6 years with 1 battery replacement and only replaces accessories when they actually stop working. Person A spends approximately $2,800 per year on personal tech, while Person B spends approximately $900 per year, which is a difference of $1,900 annually. Over a 30-year adult working life, Person A spends $84,000 on personal technology, while Person B spends $27,000, and the difference is $57,000 in direct spending. But the real cost is the opportunity cost, because that $57,000 could have become something else if invested. At 8% compound annual returns, the $1,900 annual difference invested each year for 30 years grows to approximately $214,000. $250,000. That is the true cost of the upgrade illusion. Not the price of any single device, but the compounded lifetime extraction of wealth through manufactured dissatisfaction. Upgrade after upgrade, year after year, while perfectly good technology collects dust in drawers or gets traded in for a fraction of its remaining useful life. Here is where it gets really interesting, because the tech industry has also convinced us that holding on to devices is somehow embarrassing or irresponsible when the opposite is true. The environmental cost of the upgrade illusion is catastrophic. According to the United Nations, approximately 50 million metric tons of e-waste are generated globally each year, and that number is growing. The rare earth minerals in your phone, lithium, cobalt, and neodymium, are extracted through environmentally destructive mining, often in countries with poor labor protections. The manufacturing process for a single phone produces approximately 70 kilograms of carbon dioxide emissions, and the majority of a device's lifetime carbon footprint comes from manufacturing and not from its actual use. Every unnecessary upgrade is not just a financial decision, it is an environmental one. The person using a 4-year-old phone is not behind the times. They are making a more rational economic decision and a more responsible environmental one. The social pressure to upgrade is manufactured, and it should be resisted not just for financial reasons, but because the consumption pattern it drives is genuinely unsustainable. The marketing has convinced us that wanting the new thing is natural and inevitable. But the wanting is engineered. You did not wake up feeling dissatisfied with your phone. You watched a keynote or saw an advertisement or scrolled past a review that planted the dissatisfaction. The desire came from outside and not from inside, and recognizing that is the first step to escaping the cycle. So what do you actually do to escape the upgrade illusion? The first action is to define your actual use case and measure your current device against it, and not against the theoretical maximum a new device could provide. Ask yourself, what do I actually do with my phone or laptop on a daily basis? Texting, email, social media, photos, and streaming. If the answer is yes, then your 2 or 3-year-old device handles all of those tasks adequately. You do not need more processing power for Instagram, and you do not need a better camera for snapshots, because the new features are designed to create demand and not to serve existing needs. The second action is to extend the life of your current devices through simple maintenance. Replace batteries when they degrade. A $100 repair that adds 2 years of life is dramatically cheaper than a $1,000 replacement. Use protective cases to prevent damage. Delete unused apps and files to maintain performance and factory reset devices that have become sluggish. Often the performance issues are software craft and not hardware limitation. A 2022 survey by Asurion found that the average smartphone has 80 unused apps consuming storage and processing resources. Cleaning up your device can restore performance you thought was gone. The third action is to buy refurbished when you do need to upgrade. Apple, Samsung, and third-party vendors like Gazelle and Back Market sell certified refurbished devices at 30 to 50% discounts with warranties that cover defects. A 2-year-old refurbished flagship is virtually indistinguishable from a new mid-range device in daily use at a lower price with the same reliability. The stigma around refurbished is manufactured by companies who profit from selling new, and the devices themselves are excellent. The fourth action is to set upgrade intervals that are based on actual need and not marketing cycles. A good smartphone should last 4 to 5 years. A good laptop should last 6 to 7 years, and a good tablet should last 5 to 6 years. When the device literally cannot run the software you need, or the battery cannot hold a charge even after replacement, that is when you upgrade, and not when a company tells you that something newer exists. Right now, you probably see yourself as someone who stays reasonably current without being excessive, but there is another way to see it. Every upgrade cycle you participate in is a vote for a system designed to extract maximum revenue from manufactured dissatisfaction. Every time you trade in a working device because something newer exists, you are confirming that the psychological manipulation worked. The tech industry does not see you as a customer to serve. It sees you as a resource to harvest on a predictable schedule. And it has engineered an entire cultural apparatus, product announcements, influencer reviews, social media hype, and trade-in programs to ensure you show up every 2 to 3 years with $1,000 ready to exchange for an experience almost identical to what you already had. Kyle is not a cautious spender. He is the perfect customer. He waited in line to pay $1,199 for a 3% improvement he cannot even perceive. And in 18 months, he will do it again, never calculating the lifetime cost, because the payments are spread across months and the dissatisfaction is manufactured fresh each September. The upgrade illusion works because it attacks your perception and not your device. Your phone did not actually become worse when the new model was announced. Your perception of your phone changed because billions of dollars were spent changing it. The only escape is to recognize the manipulation for what it is and to measure your device against your actual needs, rather than against an artificial standard designed to make you feel perpetually behind. You are not behind. You are simply being told you are behind by people who profit when you believe them. Your 3-year-old phone works. Your 5-year-old laptop works. The dissatisfaction you feel is not coming from the device. It is coming from a marketing machine that needs you dissatisfied to survive. Unplug from the illusion. Keep what works and invest the difference. If this changed how you see your next upgrade, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.